So yeah, after Henry Hill one, I want to like the
Yeah.
looking over. That was one of my questions too. The constantly looking over your shoulder thing.
Wouldn't you think that you'd be fucking just
Oh, you're
constantly
fucking with the mob. Yeah, of course.
Then you're in college. They know where you are. It's not like
It
you're.
wouldn't take me anything, especially if I was a player that I knew I wasn't going to the NBA. Hey, you want to fix some games? Yeah, absolutely. How much money are you going to pay me? I can easily do that. I'm a fucking broke college kid from Boston.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Well, he's actually from Trenton.
Trenton, New Jersey. I know, but I'm just saying. I'm in Boston College.
So is the dog there permanently?
No.
Oh.
If the dog's here, it's usually like it's usually
she's coming over.
She's staying the night.
Yeah.
Fucking ripped apart my trash today and then puked on my floor. I wanted to stab him when I got home.
I heard that very fast. I thought you puked on your floor. I was like, what?
I haven't puked on my floor.
No more puke talk. No more puke talk. Here we go. I mean, if you feel like you need to get it out. But... Hello?
Hey.
Hey,
Whoa.
there he is.
Man's ready with a beer right there, I see.
Oh,
Well-
you gotta stay hydrated. Stay hydrated.
Yeah.
It says,
See, I'm out of work, so this is like a weekend for me.
So, you want me to plug in with headphones? Well, you don't have headphones. Yeah, you do.
well, you can do whatever you
I
know
put
what?
headphones on.
Whatever makes you hear us better is good for us.
Oh, now.
Except for that
better.
Raiders
Sure
shirt
you guys
you
got
got on.
enough?
The Raiders.
Yeah,
The
what's up
only
with
thing
that
we'd
shit?
ask is get rid of the
Get rid
Raiders.
of the Raiders shirt.
You want me to take it off and turn it inside out?
No, just take it
no.
off.
Actually, my college roommate is the GM.
Yeah,
So
was he
no,
as big a tool back then as he is now, or no?
He's the best. He's awesome. The man's going to win a
I
Super
mean, that would
Bowl.
love. I like Mike Mayock. I liked him on the NFL broadcast.
Oh yeah, he was great. NFL,
Yeah, I
all
did
that stuff.
too.
He knows his
He
shit.
was that way when he was 19 years old in college.
Oh really?
Is he gonna
Well-
get his? Is he gonna get his 2 first rounds for Derek Carr? Can we break any news here today?
Now, I don't know that. And he doesn't really talk shop with
Yeah.
us.
You guys
'Cause there's
still
a-
friendly?
Oh, very friendly.
Yeah.
We
Oh,
go to
that's
his house every summer, except last summer because of COVID. We were kind of locked out.
Yeah.
But all the guys that hung out together when we were in college, Mike opens his place in Ocean City, New Jersey, and we make a weekend out of it. It's just a great time.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
great.
Am I set up okay here?
Yeah,
Is
you're
that
good.
Raiders
Yeah, you're great.
It's a very
I can tell you guys are tough. You're tough.
well, like you said, we've been drinking. No, I'm just. We want to welcome Jim Sweeney, the author of Old School Hoops: The Stories of an Aging Baller, to Simple Minds Sports Show. Jim, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. I'm happy to be on the show tonight.
It's a hell of a mirror behind you too.
Is that a full
It is.
size mirror all the way down?
Yeah, it's not. It's full size.
Oh, boy.
I think it's 7 feet tall. My wife picked that out years ago. We've
That's
been
when
in
you know
this
it's good.
townhome for 18 years. We had to hire a specialty moving company to get that mirror in because the entry into the townhome was too narrow. Plus, you had a piano and an oversized couch.
Yep.
Yeah.
Been there. We once blew out the entire front home of my grandmother's house and put a bay window in after just to get her furniture in.
Oh man!
Long story short,
where are you
the
guys? Are you
furniture
all in
never
Boston?
came out.
Oh,
Yeah,
we're
the
two of us
Baltimore?
are in New Hampshire, so two of us. We're like 45 minutes north of Boston.
Yeah.
Okay.
We all grew up
I
in
have
New
a
Hampshire
college
together.
roommate. Yeah, I have a college roommate in New Hampshire. He lives in Derry.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
15
I'm
minutes from me.
15 minutes from Derry right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, we all grew up
Manchester.
together in southern New Hampshire, obviously rooting for, Boston sports through and through, blue-blooded. So this is near and dear to our heart, Jim. Even though it was a little bit before our time, but it's still, we want to get your, we want to hear all about your book, and we want to hear all about your time, playing abroad with your basketball history, but obviously we want to get the 30 for 30 and the story and
Sure.
playing for the mob. Let's get those burning questions off our chests because
Fire away.
it's a big story, and I'm sure you've answered them 1,000 times. We're probably not going to break
Yes.
the internet here, but obviously we're talking about the point shaving scandal, if you want to call it, with Boston College that went on in 1978. with the mob. I'll do a quick recap, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. You were basically roped into the scheme by your teammate Rick Kuhn or Kuhn.
Either way, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, I've heard it said both ways. I've heard it both ways.
And then obviously the 1990 Scorsese film Goodfellas is made and made famous. Ray Liotta made famous Mr. Hill there. And I guess my first question of everything: are you just a little bit annoyed that the movie didn't make more of his part in your BC career in that scandal? And I'm sure these guys have a bunch of other questions about it.
I think that the people that produced the movie were kind of limited, that they couldn't get on campus to film. And the same thing with filming of the documentary, Playing for the Mob.
Yeah.
This university just didn't want to cooperate, and that's understandable. But I'd like to comment on your point that this is a big story. It still is. I mean, this thing happened over 40 years ago. Much bigger in New England, especially in the Boston area, than it is elsewhere. However, I've had the good fortune. I'm 63 years old now, and I still play basketball competitively internationally. Everywhere I go, people want to ask me questions about this everywhere. And it's interesting. I walked into a gym in Serbia a couple of years ago when I was playing in the tournament, and the guys thought that I had arranged this, that I was on the team that I was playing in Serbia, because the ESPN 30 for 30 was on one of the big screens in the area outside the gym when I walked in. And then I became like an instant celebrity, and all these people are coming out saying, "Look at this American right there. He's on television right now."
I was going to ask that later on in your travels. How many games have you been asked to asked to throw in your travels throughout? Like, oh, this is the guy, right? Maybe.
Not one. It's
not one.
Interesting. A couple years ago, we were putting together a team. I have a really interesting role, a volunteer role, in which I'm the head of this organization called FIMBA, Federation International Masters Basketball. It's the largest senior sports federation in the world. We've got chapters in 47 different countries. We run biannual world championships. And one of the guys that I reached out to and I asked if he wanted to play with us was Ernie Kopp.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
And he's still really fit. He could still go.
Yep.
And he and I were friendly in college. I thought we were a good backcourt. And he said he would love to do it, but he just couldn't. He has I think tendonitis in one of his knees, and he said he couldn't do it. And he said, "Keep me in mind for the future." So the next World Championship is going to be in Orlando in the bubble, August of 2022. I just might call Cobb again.
That's awesome. That's great. You guys said that.
Imagine the conspiratorialists. They'll go crazy.
They'll
get wiped up in a They'll be in a lather.
I love it. I can't wait to see the spreads on those games and what happens after.
Yeah, I can't wait to bet on. Can you give me some inside knowledge?
It is
just in case I'm a gambling man.
It is fascinating, though.
Go on.
I was just gonna say, it is fascinating that it has maintained the pedigree that it has in the sports world. Obviously, the 30 for 30 was a couple years ago, but when you keep getting documentaries and stories brought up about it, it's going to start all back up. But it's a tantalizing type of part of sports, gambling. It's always been a little, the Pete Roses, the Tim Donahues, all these stories are always gigantic. I don't really know why exactly. It's hard to put a finger on why people care so much about that part of it.
It's just something to gamble on. I mean, if you think about degenerate gamblers, they'll gamble on like a fucking Uno game. Anything that they can put money on. Michael Jordan Monopoly, throwing a fucking quarter against the wall. Who can get?
Well, how about the gambler that wore the hot pink onesie that ran onto the field?
$375,000 he got for that.
That's crazy.
Yeah, but to answer your question, going back to the question, I don't know why you said it all comes together like this, and there's such intrigue and there's a pedigree. That's a good word. The rest of you guys know what pedigree means?
No.
I'm taking a shot because I know you're going to take a shot at
me. The show is called Simple Minds Sports Show. Okay.
But a lot of people have had this conversation with me in the past. Why do you think? Why do you think? And after years, I think it's three elements. It's the Catholic Church, it's the mob, and it's college basketball. Yeah. I mean, college basketball is phenomenal. What a great product it's become. I mean, I was fortunate enough to play D1, back in the late 70s in 1980, but it's nothing back then as to what it's evolved into today.
Well, I mean, you think about it, you had Boston College Holy Cross on national TV. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, you don't see that now. No one gives a shit about Boston College and Holy Cross. They don't even care about it around here, let alone on national TV. And that's a nationally televised game on a Saturday afternoon. It's like, you don't see that now. It's crazy.
And Holy Cross was nationally ranked back then. They had a great team.
Which is crazy.
Well, I mean, they've got some Hall of Famers. Bob Cousy, Heisen, both from Holy Cross, right?
Yeah. Ronnie Perry is the guy that I played against. He was phenomenal. Chris Potter. I mean, they're just really good players.
I got a question for you, Jim. Assuming you saw Goodfellas, obviously, the way the film portrayed Henry Hill, was that accurate how he was in real life? Like, how accurate was the film when you saw it, like the character Ray Liotta played?
You'll laugh if I tell you this. You'll say, this guy's full of it. I have never seen Goodfellas in its entirety.
Okay.
I feel like I lived a portion of it.
I believe it. I believe that.
And everywhere I've gone, it seems like for the last 25 years, or however long the movie's been out, it's been playing in the background, whether at a sports bar, in the airport, in a hotel lobby. So I've seen bits and pieces of it. And I did read the book.
Okay.
It was the book Wise Guy. I think
Wise Guys, yeah.
Book led to Goodfellas. But as far as my relationship with Henry Hill, I mean, I met him briefly on 2 occasions. Okay. So it's not as if we went out to dinner together. It's not as if he lived next door. It's not as if we used to commute from New Jersey, where I grew up, to Boston when I went to college. So I can't say that I knew him well.
Okay. He didn't give you a ride to the dorms there, Jim?
No, he didn't.
Was he intimidating? Did he scare the shit out of you? Like when you walk in and you just see this big burly, like, half Irish, half Italian guy in there. Like you could tell he's a gangster, right? Does it scare the shit out of you your first meeting?
He put me on guard when I met him. I didn't know what to expect. And he was sitting in the corner of a hotel room because I thought it was odd. When I met with these guys, I went to the Boston Logan Airport Hilton, and we were supposed to meet them for dinner. I thought I was going there for dinner. And then my teammate says, hey, they're waiting for us in the room. They want to see you ahead of time. And when I walked in, the room was dimly lit and Henry Hill was in the corner. And who knew who Henry Hill was back then?
Well, you had no internet, right? You had no internet. You don't know.
Yeah, you don't know anything.
You don't get, a lot of times you're not getting the New York Times and all that shit in Boston. You have no idea.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And he wasn't a big burly guy. He was actually, on the undersized size. He was undersized.
Right.
Gotcha. And he was a little, in my opinion, squirrely. But when he spoke, you knew that, I grew up in the city. I grew up in downtown Trenton, New Jersey. And I remember my dad would always say, those guys are the bums. And they were the guys that would lie and cheat and steal. And they would do that their entire lives. They just didn't want to work a regular job. They wanted to be able to skate anywhere they went. And they wanted to be able to take advantage of people that they thought were either weak or vulnerable or maybe younger or naive at the time. And my first perception of Henry Hill was I knew that I had met a bum. I'm not saying that he was a bum like you would see.
Yeah.
Homeless, that he was one of those guys. He was a wise guy.
He was a derelict to society, which is basically what he was.
Yeah, but he became a cult hero, which is rather interesting.
Yeah, kind of all mobsters do, right? For one reason or another. It's that's like you said. It's kind of the American society of way that we build up people for whatever reason, one way or another. You're watching the movie and you're rooting for him to get away, even though you just watched him cold blood murder a guy in the back of a car. So sensationalized, like we talked about.
It was definitely an interesting experience, and it's a story that I've been together with my wife since 1977, and she and I, it comes up probably every week, sometimes multiple times a week, and it lives rent free in her head. Trust me. And we talk about it, quite a bit. And I know that, as I said earlier, I'm 63. When I'm 85, people are still going to be asking me the same question.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's okay. I tell people open book. You can ask me what you want.
You talk Bill. About, yeah, I got to.
I'm infatuated
with the mob. I love the mob stuff.
You have to understand that we call Bill Trash Can as his nickname. So the mob and Bill and Loser and Bomb, they all kind of float together here.
Get a pen right fitting for his nickname.
No, you mentioned your interactions with Henry Hill, and I know you talk about like the money guys and Luke Casey, Crime Family, and Jimmy Burke, you know, the associate. You guys never met face to face. Did you ever have any like phone call, like conversations with him? Because I know, like, again, he never came up to Boston, but did you ever at least interact with him on the phone, or did you know about him? Because I know they threatened you guys a lot with, you know, so-and-so, and he was the main character that supposedly they were kind of threatening you guys with. Did you guys?
I don't know if this is the right title, but he was like the captain of the operation.
Yeah,
and he was also the guy that supposedly was leading.
He's a mob guy, yeah, connected. He's Irish guy.
Yeah, of the the Lufthansa bank heist at JFK Airport. I think it was called Ottawa back then. But interesting, we were talking about this story, always seems to surface, and a lot of times in the most unlikely ways. My wife and I, this was maybe 8 or 10 years ago. It was rainy on a Saturday, so we said, "Hey, let's just watch, some movies." And we like documentaries, and it was a documentary on New York crime families, and it was all about Jimmy the Gent Burke. So the part of the movie that we tuned into right away is that they had discovered behind this bar that he owned called Robert's Tavern that there were concrete slabs in the backyard, and underneath the concrete slabs there were like 10 or more bodies that they had found. And purportedly, those bodies were some of the people that were involved in the Lufthansa bank heist that he had gotten rid of.
Not all of them. He dumped a lot of them around New York and Staten Island and all that. Oh, yeah. I put them in like dumpsters and meat trucks and garbage trucks. He dumped them out. He dumped them so they found them. They found most of them. It was like on display. He killed everybody around him.
But there were bodies that were found in his backyard. And my wife said to me, she said, "Jimmy," she said, "that could have been you." And I never really thought about that. I mean, was I naive for that long in my life? Maybe, but there are certain things. I mean, we all have blind spots. I never really thought that. I never thought it would get to that level where I would be whacked.
Well, you talk about the Holy Cross game. I mean, the last game you guys reportedly were shaving points on. I mean, you fouled out of that. You think about that. Supposedly, he lost $1 million, right? So I mean, if you want to talk about that's the time to get whacked. I mean, they bet heavily on Holy Cross, didn't cover the spread or bet whatever it was at the time. I mean, you want to talk about, if he wanted to, he could have drove up to Boston and basically put you guys in a dumpster at that point. If the reports are true that he lost $1 million, I mean, I would think you're close enough to getting, your dick in your mouth at that point, as you know what I mean.
I mean, you're dealing with the mob.
I never thought of that, Bill.
Well, to say that,
I watched too many movies.
But to say that, though, one of the quotes that you read articles obviously about you and like the Boston College team, and I'm going to read from my phone because it's so funny that I have to read this. But Henry Hill asked you, "How would your honey feel if she came home to see you wearing bracelet with your genitals hanging from it?" At that point, like how obviously your wife said this to you, like that could have been you, but at that point in the late 70s, how did you think like, oh fuck, like this is it, like I'm in it with the mob right now?
I knew I was underwater at that time. Yeah. And I didn't know what to do. I really didn't.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel like I had a confidence level in like my coach nor the AD at Boston College at the time. And unfortunately that was not covered in the documentary. When they filmed the documentary here in Florida, I live in the Tampa Bay area of Florida. And it was like 4 days with the film crew. They were here in our house. We went to different places around the area. Then we went out, for a couple meals just to talk, to get to know each other. And obviously they wanted to read on me. And they said, they had asked me specifically, "Well, why didn't you go to your coach?" And I said, I really didn't have a rapport with him. He was a great coach. And ironically, because he was so tough on me, now I became a much better player. Just because I was so motivated to prove him wrong. Yeah. And the AD loved the coach. And I'm thinking, all right. And the coach, this was before I had like a breakout season, my junior year.
Yep.
And Tom Davis said, "I'm going to recruit guys and you're not going to play." And I'm thinking, I'm a much better player than I think you realize that I am. So it was at a time, it was a real precarious portion of our time in our relationship as a player, a coach, and then an AD.
Yeah. And I want to get, and let's quickly move into your playing career now. But the last question I had on the, on the point shaving stuff is just like, just that in-game and everyday feeling you must have had around the team. Like, I'm sure Bill knows this, like when you get high and you have that feeling where everyone knows that you're high and you're just like really nervous. And
it reminds me of a Pulp Fiction, when Marcellus Wallace is telling Butch right before he throws the fight, that feeling you have in your chest, that's your pride.
Yeah, like it's just this like.
That's another movie I didn't see, guys.
Oh, damn.
He's not a movie guy.
We're going to be sending you some movies to watch. Your wife, we're going to send you some DVDs. You got to watch them with your wife. Come on. These are all classics.
But you said you had that pressure in Holy Cross and just didn't want to be a part of that. And, and you're talking about it, it chronicles the Providence game where you guys kind of blew it and didn't succeed, and I'm just wondering if you're going in that game and going, okay, my pride's going to take over. I'm not doing what they want me to do. We got to win this game. And then they threaten you again and you're at practice going, shit, do these guys know? Like, well, and then you got to do it the whole season, right? Like I'm fascinated by how you dealt with that and what that felt like on a day-to-day basis and in game particularly.
Well, fortunately, I lived with guys that I only have one sibling. It's a sister, and the guys that I lived with in college, I mean, they became my brothers for life, and I confided in a couple of them. So I felt like they had my back, and if I had any issues, I could go to them. And I really didn't think I was at the tipping point where I was going to have a major issue. And however, we lived in this one dormitory. It was called the Hillsides, and it had multiple entrances and exits. And it was really cold. You know what it's like in Boston.
Of course,
it's probably freezing. It was 80 and something here today, just to let you know.
Damn it.
But
it snowed here yesterday. Thanks.
Fuck you, Jim.
So I shared this with the guys on the ESPN crew because I thought that it would have been relevant, and it was a pretty good word picture. Is that I had this coat that my mom insisted she buy for me when I went to college, and it was blue on one side and it was tan on the other. And after where you had mentioned about the Providence game, I actually would leave our dormitory with the coat when it was turned on the tan side with the hood up. Yes, reversible. I look like a Michelin man wearing that thing in front of those big puffy
Oh, yeah.
And when I would return, I wouldn't have my hood up. I would have a stocking cap on. And when I was at class, I would reverse it to the color blue. And I did that for a couple of days. Now, was it, just me walking on eggshells and being naive and thinking, hey, there's really, legitimate fear here or not? I still don't know to this day.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you're being cautious, even subconsciously. Because you definitely had an idea when someone threatens to put your balls around a bracelet. You probably have an idea that they're serious at some point.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't have said that if my mom was still alive. I'm not really a cursor.
Yeah. Well, we
apologize. I apologize for swearing. Sorry, like a storm up here.
He knows.
They don't call me Billy Badwords for nothing.
No, the other name is Billy Badwords. Yes, she has 16. He's a schizophrenic. Jim, so it's fascinating. I mean, obviously, you've told these stories 1,000 times. We could go all night. It's one of these things. But let's talk about, one of the reasons you're here, at least your new book and all of the, the stories of an aging caller is just kind of a cool. Go. It's an awesome. I'm
gonna have to read cover. It. I'm on vacation right now, so I need some books to read.
There you go. See, it's not my first rodeo. I had the book right here.
There you go.
Be available.
There you go.
But what an awesome time to spend on your back end of your career, or however you want to call it, spending the world playing hoops, and then getting to write a book about it and do this whole tour. So if you could just give us a couple minutes, just kind of tell us about the book, what we can expect from it, and kind of maybe a story or two or something from your time out there.
Yeah. After college, I did play briefly in Northern Europe, and I came back, halfway through the season during the break. Professional basketball at that time, especially in Northern Europe, wasn't near as competitive as it is today. But I did come back because I wasn't married at the time. I felt like there was a possibility that my wife, who's my wife now, we've been married for 39 years, might not be there if I went and I stayed another 6 months in Europe.
Yeah.
And I don't regret this, but I always felt like I had this yearning in my heart to continue playing competitively internationally, because I love to travel. She loves to travel. I love to play hoop. And in the early years of my marriage, my wife would say to me, Jimmy, you're playing ball again tonight? And I said, yeah, I got 2 league games, one in Clearwater, one in Tampa, which is 40 minutes away.
That's awesome.
And now she says to me, yo, Jimmy, are you going to play basketball tonight? you get a little chubby.
Yeah. Yeah.
So she actually was the one that encouraged me when I got older in life, like in my mid 40s, to continue playing ball, because she saw that it just made me happy. And I had that competitive, flair that I just wanted to continue playing a game that I loved. So I got invited to play my first Masters tournament when I was 45. And I'm thinking, how good could the competition be? And the national tournament is held in Coral Springs, Florida every May. They call it May Madness. The comp level is phenomenal. And it's not just that former NBA players, some European pros play in it. Mostly all the guys played in college, but it's the no-name guys that will shock you. Guys that were late bloomers in life, maybe didn't get, the opportunity to flourish when they were in college, but have continued to play the game and hone their skills. So my first tournament in South Florida, I'm thinking this is a brand new brotherhood that I've discovered. Then I find out there's tournaments all over the country. Then I find out there's tournaments all over the world. So since 2003, I've played in 100 and something Masters basketball tournaments in more than 20 countries.
Wow.
And I was in the right place at the right time, because I had this really unique volunteer gig. I'm the head of the United States, and I serve on the international board for FIMBA, as I referenced earlier, Federation International Masters Basketball. And I played in European Championships, Pan Am Championships, the Elite FIMBA World League, and the biannual FIMBA World Championships. And I've won, and I'm 5-time world champion in different age groups. That's awesome. It's not just keeping yourself fit. It's having a great time, going to areas in the world. I don't think I would have ever gone to Brazil a couple times, or Matsui, Japan, or Ostrava in the Czech Republic, or Espoo, Finland, or Serbia, or Croatia, or the country of Moldova, or Ukraine. And it's all because of old school hoops. And a lot of times when I say that I still play, people go, yeah, well, 3-on-3? Yeah. And, do you break a sweat? I said, no, it's like full court, 24-second shot clock, 10-minute stop time quarters. And all the guys, especially the Europeans, are former European pros, Olympians, or national team players. And it's the most competitive basketball you can get for older guys. And it starts at age 35 for men, and it goes up to age 80.
Damn!
Now,
wow,
I'm 63. Jesus. I'm like watching an iceberg move. I think that's what I've been told.
Who's the most famous guy you've played against?
Oscar Schmidt, the Golden Hand, the leading scorer in the history of basketball, 51,000 points.
Wow.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar had 39,000. So
that's crazy.
This guy was always open and liked to shoot it a lot.
So, go ahead, real quick. So Rich and I know each other because we grew up together, but we also played basketball through middle school all the way to high school. After high school, obviously, we go to the men's league because that's what you do, because we didn't do college ball or anything like that.
I played a little college basketball, Rafe. Show me a little respect.
Yeah, whatever. But anyways,
doesn't count.
Yeah. But anyways, knowing what I know from men's league basketball, the older guys, they're always fundamentally sound. They're gritty, but they always start shit. How is this men's league for like the men's circuit for you? Like the older guy, you're 63. Do the older guys still start shit? Like, is it very competitive?
Well, you play in 5-year increments.
Okay.
You can play down in your age groups, but you can't play up. Like I can't play against 66-year-olds.
Gotcha.
But I could play against 55-year-olds or 50-year-olds or 45-year-olds. There's a big difference when you get older. It's like the bell curve for aging in life.
Yep.
Like you want to have an 11-year-old play against a 17-year-old, you wouldn't have most 60-year-olds play against 40-year-olds.
Gotcha.
Just because your athleticism starts to erode.
Oh, of course.
But since I had been playing in so many tournaments, over 100 tournaments in 20 different countries, all these guys are telling me, Sweeney, you should write a book. You take a lot of, There's a lot of pictures that are available to you because everybody's taking pictures at these tournaments. And, you know, I am a writer. I was an English literature major when I was in college. I was one of those strange guys. I didn't take
you weren't in statistics, Jim?
No, nor tennis or basket weaving. Or I
ballroom dancing.
James Joyce. I like to read and I like to write.
Yeah.
So doing the book was easy for me, and
That's
I
awesome.
love doing it because, as I mentioned earlier, I've got a sister. I never had a brother, a biological brother, but now I feel I got brothers from all over the world. And Florida is a big vacation destination, as you can imagine, especially from February to May.
Sure.
We've hosted people at our house from Japan, Brazil, Croatia, England, Canada, Ireland, all over the world that I've met as a result of Masters basketball. And the cool thing about what I've done with Masters basketball is my wife is a public speaker. So as I write and reference in my book, I say, usually people don't forget me at these tournaments, but everybody always remembers my wife. Because my wife is like a meteor that strikes planet Earth. You're always going to remember her.
Yeah.
And when I go to some of these tournaments, people say, "Well, that's your wife. What does she do?" I said, "She's a public speaker." We get invited back usually, and we get compensated. We get comped. I say we because I manage her.
You mean she? Yeah.
Yeah. I manage her when she allows me to manage her.
Yeah,
exactly.
Living the good life vicariously through your wife. Isn't that
nothing wrong with that, man? Nothing wrong with that at all.
Oh yeah.
Well, that's awesome, Jim, and you've given me a little bit of hope as a 35-year-old that there may I played basketball, locally, just as that's what I did to stay fit, and then COVID hit, and now I do a podcast with my friends and drink beer. So I need something else, and I need this thing to end so I can get back on the court and get that. And now I have something to strive for, even though it will never happen. So
you'll never get tournaments all over the United States, and the tournaments are wonderful because they always have social parties. The big tournaments like the Pan Am Games, the European Championships, and the World Championships, they have an opening ceremonies, a parade of nations. And when I tell people this the first time when they're coming to a tournament, and I said, we walk in usually at the end or near the end because we're USA, and USA is a long way after B and C in the alphabet. So they do this alphabetically. And guys are saying, "Oh, come on, Sweeney, this is hokey. Do we really need to do this?" I guarantee that they're the guys that are wiping away tears because they say, "Well, I'm walking behind my country's flag. I've been chosen to represent the United States. I'm 60-something years old, and all these older guys that share the same common passion are walking in the same line. They want to kick my butt, but then they want to buy me a beer. It sounds like it's an oxymoron.
No, it's great. Yeah, it's the rugby mentality. You go out there and compete your ass off, and then you buy each other beers. I love it. Absolutely love it.
Exactly.
Well, Jim, we won't take up too much of your time. We appreciate you hanging out. This is so much fun. Why don't you tell us where the best place or all the places are to find and read the book? It sounds absolutely fascinating. Floor is yours.
Amazon or Lulu. And,
okay.
Amazon owns Lulu, so it's available as an ebook and also as a printed copy.
I got the ebook today.
Before,
I think I might get the print.
It's got a great cover.
It does. It looks cool.
My original sneakers from 1972 when I was just starting high school.
The old Chucks, man. Larry Bird, right? Were those Converse or were they the knockoffs before Converse?
Converse were the only basketball sneakers back in the day.
I don't know what they are. They don't look like they're Converse because they don't have the stripe along the side.
PF Flyers.
I like PF Flyers. I had a little bit extra lift when I wore my PF Flyers.
That sounds like a pitch. That sounds like he's working towards something.
Yeah.
No, but if you know somebody that wants to sponsor our movement, bring it on, please.
That's awesome.
Let's see. Up here in New England, I reached out to Reebok several times. They told me no. Who else?
They're a dying breed. They're a dying breed anyways. So.
Join the club.
That's what they said. They said old guys like you should have the finance to be able to afford to do all this. Why should we sponsor you?
Well, you think New Balance would then?
That hurts.
An old guy sneaker to another old guy they'd want to sponsor. That hurts. New Balance.
New Balance might be the way to go. All right, Jim, we appreciate it. We'll let you go, Ed. I just had one last question. What did you do with the money that you took from the point shave?
You know something? There was $500. I mean,
That's
you could look at the movie, or not the movie, the documentary.
Yeah.
just to live, just to survive, to pay for rent, during the summer, to pay for bus trips home. So it's not as if I went out and bought myself a new Mercedes.
You took 10 grand, you got 500, huh?
That's crazy.
It was, and if you see in the documentary, my teammate said, "You're involved whether you want to be involved or not." And he pushed 5 $100 bills into my chest, walked away. They just were at my feet in the locker room. I had to pick them up, otherwise
someone else will
questions.
Yeah.
And then I didn't. It's not like I spent it the next morning, or it's not like I went out and bought beers for everybody at Mary Ann's Pub at Cleveland Circle. I actually stapled them with a thumbtack into the upper part of my closet, and they were there until May when I left.
Wow. Really?
Never touched them, huh? That's crazy.
I didn't know it, but I did confide in a couple of my roommates. I showed them the money, and
yeah,
we didn't know what to do. Let's put it that way. I didn't know what to do, and I didn't want to hold them accountable for what I had walked into.
That's a tough situation. It sounds like you get screwed, basically, is what it sounds like to me.
Oh, yeah,
so,
absolutely.
Just a little bit.
But it looks like you made out perfectly fine, and you're kicking ass now. So we'll buy the book. We'll get the book.
I just bought it. I just bought it on Amazon.
Yeah,
I just bought it right now.
Got the ebook. We buy all the books.
I'm not working, so if you want to send me a copy, I'll be more than happy to read it.
Here's what we do, Jim. We don't
give me your email address. I'll send you an ebook.
That's awesome.
The book is actually a fundraiser for the CYO Center in Trenton, New Jersey, where I grew up.
Oh,
now I'm gonna have to buy it.
No, we bought it.
We all buy it because we can't read good, so we split up the chapters and then we tell each other how
we
it
have
all
book.
worked out.
Then we have book
reports.
We drink beers and we explain the book to each other.
I knew this would be fun because I watched a couple of your shows. I kind of scrolled through, and you were disparaging your friend Bill about pink corduroy. And I'm thinking, these guys.
Pink corduroy.
When I go through, when I get together with my college roommates, 3 days of like a love fest, which is them telling me how short I am, how unathletic I am.
That's right.
Oh, that's right.
That's
right.
Yeah.
Ray doesn't put 7-foot length mirrors in his house. He only wants to see from the chest up.
He only needs 3 foot. He only needs 3 foot. Well, we appreciate it, Jim.
Ground. That's my wife's mirror. Be careful, bro.
Thanks for joining us, man.
Thanks,
good
man.
Luck.
Appreciate
We'll
it.
have you back soon. That'd be great. Thanks.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
That was fun. That was fun.
Jim Sweeney.
That was fun.
Bill, you love the mob shit.
Yeah, I could go all day on that.
We can tell.
Much shit with that. Yeah,
we can tell. You would
Love
shut
that
up.
shit.
So
Billy
that's what we need. That's what we need for guests now. Just mob people that are involved with mob.
Because I know, like, when you would say like so and so, and I was like Jim Sweeney, like, yeah, I know this guy. Like, I know exactly what's going on.
Ray, you know, Bill got to that perfect numb because I'm sending you like show note text, and I know he's not looking, and then like someone else is talking, and he just starts talking at the wall. Like, my mind's
I
working.
muted that.
You're talking, but fuck off. Like, I would like to say what's in my head right now.
Rich, I understand you're saying text. Shut the fuck up. I have lots of questions.
Trouble in my life. I'm just looking for another